Human history isn't a straight line. It's not a clean, well-lit highway from the past to the present. Instead, it's a dense, overgrown jungle, filled with dead ends, hidden paths, and artifacts that whisper stories we no longer understand. For every question we answer, the past throws another riddle our way. It's a challenge, an invitation to look deeper, to question everything we think we know. These mysteries are more than just old objects or strange ruins. They are echoes from lost worlds. Our planet is a museum of the unexplained, scattered across continents, buried under desert sands, and submerged beneath the waves, are puzzles that defy easy answers. These are the artifacts that keep archaeologists up at night. This journey is a countdown of the world's greatest enigmas. We'll travel from cryptic texts that no one can read to massive stone structures that should have been impossible to build. Let's get started. Our countdown begins with a puzzle made of paper and ink. It's called the Voynich Manuscript. Discovered in 1912 by an antique book dealer named Wilfrid Voynich, this medieval codex is a complete enigma. But there's a huge problem. No one on Earth can read it. The script, often called Voynichese, doesn't match any known language. World-class cryptographers, including the code breakers who cracked Axis codes during World War II, have tried and failed to decipher it. The illustrations are no help either. They depict plants that don't exist in the botanical world, constellations that don't match our night sky, and tiny figures bathing in strange, interconnected green pools. It's a world entirely unto itself, sealed behind an unbreakable code. So who created this unsolvable book? And for what purpose? Some theories point to the 13th century philosopher Roger Bacon. Others suggest it could be the work of a young Leonardo da Vinci, or even a sophisticated hoax, although the carbon dating makes that last one unlikely. Our next stop takes us to the arid coastal plains of southern Peru. Here, etched into the desert floor, is a collection of geoglyphs known as the Nazca lines. Created by the ancient Nazca culture sometime between 500 BCE and 500 CE, these designs are truly massive. From the air, they reveal their true form. Gigantic figures of animals, plants, and geometric shapes. We're talking about hummingbirds, spiders, monkeys, and lizards, some stretching over 900 feet long. The sheer precision of these lines is what makes them so baffling. How did they achieve such accuracy over such vast distances without being able to see their work from above? How did they keep the lines so straight and the proportions so perfect? It suggests a level of planning and surveying that seems far beyond the capabilities of an ancient culture. The ultimate mystery, of course, is why. The mainstream archaeological theory is that the lines were connected to ritual and religion. But the most famous alternative theory, popularized by author Erich von Däniken, is that the Nazca lines were actually runways for ancient alien spacecraft. In the year 1900, a group of Greek sponge divers stumbled upon an ancient Roman shipwreck off the coast of the island of Antikythera. Among the marble statues and pottery they recovered was a lump of corroded bronze. But when scientists finally began to examine it with X-rays and advanced imaging, they discovered something extraordinary. This corroded lump was an incredibly complex machine, a device so sophisticated that nothing like it would be seen again for over 1,000 years. By turning a hand crank, a user could predict the positions of the sun, the moon, and the 5 planets known to the ancient Greeks. It could also predict lunar and solar eclipses with stunning accuracy, and even track the 4-year cycle of the ancient Olympic Games. This device completely rewrites our understanding of ancient technology. The prevailing view was that this kind of engineering didn't emerge until the great astronomical clocks of 14th century Europe. The Antikythera mechanism proves that was wrong by about 1,500 years. Deep in southeastern Turkey lies a discovery that has turned the world of archaeology on its head. It's called Göbekli Tepe, which means potbelly hill in Turkish. First seriously excavated in the 1990s, this site is a sprawling complex of massive carved stone pillars arranged in circles. But the truly shocking part is its age. Göbekli Tepe is 12,000 years old. To put that into perspective, this site was built 7,000 years before the Great Pyramid of Giza and 6,000 years before Stonehenge. It dates back to a time when humanity was thought to consist of small, nomadic bands of hunter-gatherers. These were people who hadn't yet developed pottery, metallurgy, or even writing. They certainly weren't supposed to be capable of organizing the massive labor force required to quarry, transport, and erect a megalithic temple complex of this scale. Göbekli Tepe challenges the very foundation of how we believe civilization began. The old theory was that agriculture came first, which led to settled communities, which then led to religion and monumental architecture. Göbekli Tepe suggests it happened the other way around. Sometimes the biggest mysteries come in the smallest packages. Our next artifact could have come from a modern hardware store, yet it was unearthed near Baghdad, Iraq, and dates back to the Parthian Empire, somewhere between 250 BCE and 250 CE. It looks uncannily like a galvanic cell, a simple battery. If you fill the pot with an acidic liquid like vinegar or grape juice, the combination of iron, copper, and acid creates an electrochemical reaction. It produces a small but steady electrical current. Replicas of the device have been built and tested and they work. They can generate a charge of about half a volt. So the question isn't whether it could have been a battery, but whether it was. If it was a battery, what on earth was it used for? One popular idea is that multiple batteries could have been linked together for electroplating. Another theory suggests it was used for electroacupuncture. Mainstream archaeologists suggest it was simply a container for storing sacred scrolls. The Baghdad battery remains a tantalizing what if. In the middle of the Pacific Ocean lies one of the most isolated inhabited islands on Earth, Rapa Nui, better known as Easter Island. This tiny speck of land is famous for one thing: the Moai. These are the iconic, monolithic human figures carved by the Rapa Nui people between 1250 and 1500 CE. There are nearly 1,000 of these giant stone statues scattered across the island. They have oversized heads, heavy brows, long noses, and enigmatic expressions. They are, on average, 13 feet tall and weigh a staggering 14 tons. The largest one ever erected was over 33 feet high and weighed 82 tons. The mystery of the Moai is a story of obsession and collapse. How did a small, isolated society with no wheels, no draft animals, and no metal tools manage to quarry these enormous statues from a single volcanic crater, transport them across miles of rugged terrain, and then erect them onto stone platforms called ahu? The mainstream theory holds that the islanders, in their frenzy to build and transport the Moai, cut down all the trees. This deforestation led to soil erosion, the collapse of their agriculture, starvation, and warfare. However, more recent theories suggest that the arrival of Europeans and the introduction of disease and the slave trade were the primary cause of the collapse. We travel now to the wind-swept Salisbury Plain in England, home to the most famous prehistoric monument in the world, Stonehenge. This iconic ring of standing stones was built in stages over a period of 1,500 years, from roughly 3000 BCE to 1500 BCE. The outer ring is composed of massive sarsen stones, some weighing over 40 tons, which were dragged from a quarry 20 miles away. Even more remarkably, the inner ring is made of smaller bluestones, each weighing about 4 tons, that have been traced to the Preseli Hills in Wales, a staggering 150 miles away. How did a Stone Age culture with only the most basic tools manage to transport these colossal stones over such incredible distances? And how did they shape them with such precision, using mortise and tenon joints, a sophisticated woodworking technique, to lock the horizontal lintels into place atop the standing stones? The most widely accepted scientific theory is that Stonehenge was a complex astronomical observatory. The main axis of the structure is aligned perfectly with the sunrise on the summer solstice and the sunset on the winter solstice. Recent excavations have revealed that Stonehenge was also a massive burial ground, a place of the dead. There is no ancient mystery more iconic, more imposing than the Great Pyramid of Giza. Standing on the outskirts of modern Cairo, it is the last of the 7 wonders of the ancient world still in existence. Built around 2560 BCE as a tomb for the pharaoh Khufu, its scale is almost impossible to comprehend. It's composed of an estimated 2.3 million stone blocks, most weighing between 2 and 15 tons, with some of the granite slabs in the king's chamber weighing up to 80 tons. For nearly 4,000 years, it was the tallest man-made structure on Earth. The mainstream Egyptological view is that the pyramids were built by a massive, well-organized workforce of skilled Egyptian laborers. But the details are fiercely contested. What kind of ramps did they use? The pyramid is aligned almost perfectly to true north, and the stones are fitted together so tightly that you can't fit a piece of paper between them. But for a tomb, it's strangely barren. When it was first officially opened, no mummy and no treasure were found inside. Recent scans using muon tomography have revealed a large, mysterious void above the Grand Gallery. Was it a power plant? Was it built by a lost, technologically advanced civilization, or with the help of extraterrestrials? Our penultimate mystery isn't an artifact you can touch or a ruin you can visit. It's a ghost, a legend, a lost world that has haunted the human imagination for over 2,000 years. I'm talking about the lost city of Atlantis. The story comes to us from the Greek philosopher Plato, who described an astonishingly powerful and advanced island nation. According to Plato's account, Atlantis was a marvel. It was made of concentric rings of land and water, connected by bridges and canals. At its center was a magnificent temple dedicated to Poseidon, covered in silver and gold. The people of Atlantis were noble and wise, but over time, they grew corrupt and greedy. They launched an attack to conquer Athens and the rest of the known world. In the end, the gods turned against Atlantis. In a single terrible day and night of misfortune, the island was racked by violent earthquakes and floods, and it sank into the depths of the sea, lost forever. The great debate is whether Plato intended this story as a literal history or as a philosophical allegory. Mainstream historians believe it's the latter, but that hasn't stopped people from looking for it. Theories about its location are all over the map. From Crete to the Bahamas to Antarctica, it remains the world's most famous lost civilization. We've arrived at number 1. The final mystery on our countdown is not a stone monument or a lost city, but a simple length of linen cloth. It is, however, perhaps the most controversial and profound artifact on the planet. I'm talking about the Shroud of Turin. Housed in the Cathedral of St. John the Baptist in Turin, Italy, this 14-foot-long burial cloth bears the faint, sepia-toned image of a man. The image shows the front and back of a bearded individual with long hair who has clearly suffered horrific injuries consistent with a Roman crucifixion. The image itself is the greatest mystery. It's not a painting. It's not a scorch. Microscopic analysis shows that the image resides only on the topmost fibrils of the linen, with no pigment, ink, or dye. It behaves like a photographic negative, a fact only discovered when it was first photographed in 1898. The most famous scientific test occurred in 1988, when 3 separate laboratories conducted radiocarbon dating on a small sample of the cloth. The results dated the linen from between 1260 and 1390 CE, making it a medieval forgery. But proponents argue the sample was contaminated. Whether it is the authentic burial cloth of Christ, a masterful medieval work of art, or something else entirely, the Shroud of Turin remains the ultimate mystery. Our expedition through history's greatest enigmas comes to a close. We've traveled from the coded pages of a book no one can read to a cloth that challenges the boundary between belief and proof. Each of these mysteries is a breadcrumb left behind by our ancestors. These puzzles endure because they speak to the explorer in all of us. They ignite our curiosity and fire our imagination. They remind us that for all our modern knowledge and advanced science, there are still vast territories of human history that remain uncharted. These artifacts are not just historical curiosities, they are mirrors. In trying to understand who built Stonehenge or why the Moai were carved, we are really trying to understand something deeper about ourselves, about our capacity for belief, our drive to create, and our relentless quest to leave a mark on the world that will outlast us. The world is still full of secrets. There are more discoveries waiting to be made, more lost tombs to be found, and more ancient texts to be deciphered. The map of our past is still being drawn, and the blank spaces are where the greatest adventures lie. The expedition is never over.